The story of a slave girl who fell deeply in love with the crown prince. Will she stand a chance amidst the competitions?
Let's see.
The sun was setting behind the hills, casting a golden hue over the village of Umuma, where the air was thick with anticipation. The rhythmic beats of the drum echoed from the royal palace, summoning the villagers to the grand festival that only took place once every year. The festival wasn't just about dancing or food, it was a sacred tradition, a celebration of power, love, and, most importantly, the unveiling of the prince's future bride. But there was one who was not meant to belong, one who stood outside the bounds of royalty and privilege, a girl who had no place in the glittering circle of the palace, a slave whose name was Addis. Ada's life had never been her own. Born into slavery, she was the daughter of a foreign captive, brought to Umuma after a brutal war with a neighboring tribe. Raised in the shadows of the palace, she was tasked with menial duties, cleaning the royal court and tending to the horses. Yet, her eyes always lingered on Prince Ugochukwu, the heir to the throne. She had known him since childhood, watching from a distance as he played in the fields, unaware of the world beyond the royal gates. But now, as an adult, she was no longer the innocent child in the corner. Her heart beat for him, a passion that no chains, no status, could ever contain. The festival was in full swing. The royal drums grew louder, the villagers' voices rising in a melodic harmony. The prince had been groomed for this moment. Today, he would choose his bride. The contenders were many, daughters of the village chiefs, noble women from neighboring lands, all adorned in their finest silks and beads. And yet, among them, Ada stood. Not as a contender, but as a mere spectator. She was only allowed to watch the competition from the farthest corner of the gathering, clutching a woven basket full of palm wine that she had to serve to the dignitaries. She could feel the eyes of others upon her, eyes full of pity, disdain, and sometimes jealousy. They whispered behind her back, certain that the prince would never notice someone like her. As Prince Ugochukwu stepped into the arena, a hush fell over the crowd. He was tall, with a regal presence, his eyes sharp and commanding. Women around him fluttered like butterflies, each hoping to catch his attention, each vying for the prince's affections. But something caught his eye, Ada, standing at the periphery, unnoticed by the rest. Her heart pounded as his gaze met hers for a brief moment, and in that moment, she felt as if time had stopped. For just a second, she was no longer a slave. She was a woman worthy of love, worthy of being seen. But as quickly as the connection happened, he turned away, lost in the sea of beautiful faces. The prince began to speak, his voice booming over the crowd. He would choose not only based on beauty but on strength, intelligence, and grace. The women lined up, one by one, each showing their talents, singing, dancing, and presenting themselves in the most captivating ways. Ada could only watch, her hands trembling as she served the drinks, wishing she could be part of the display. As the last woman danced, her bare feet moving with fluid grace, Ada stepped forward, desperate to offer a drink to the prince. She had no performance, no noble skill to showcase. Yet, as she approached him, her eyes locked with his once more, and for a fleeting second, he smiled at her. It was a smile that spoke of a deeper understanding, of a bond beyond the surface. But the other women had seen the exchange. They whispered among themselves, casting venomous looks at Ada, knowing that this moment could change everything. In their eyes, she was nothing more than an insignificant slave, unworthy of the prince's attention. Ada knew her place. She understood the weight of her position. She was a slave, born of a defeated tribe, and to the villagers, she would never rise above that status. She could never be a queen. The prince, despite his fleeting glance, was destined to marry someone of noble blood, someone who could strengthen the kingdom's alliances. The other women were not just rivals in beauty or grace, they were formidable in every way. One was the daughter of the richest merchant in the land, another the granddaughter of the high priestess. Their futures were assured. But Adi's future had been decided the moment she had been born a slave. Yet, in her heart, something burned. The prince's brief smile ignited a spark that Adis could not suppress. She would find a way to make him see her, to make him realize that love could exist beyond rank and bloodlines.